Hello all and welcome to the Movie Bears podcast. I'm Brad Harris and each week I'm joined by husky, hairy, huggable homos who love film to dish up a bit of movie news and review a film or two, depending on how packed our week is. With me as usual are my fantastic co-hosts. Jim Pugliafco is here. Welcome, Jim.
Thanks and welcome to the podcast, everyone.
And Will Lindis is here with us as well. Welcome, Will.
Hey, movie bears, movie boys, movie girls, glad to be back with you again.
All right. So
I know I'm here for something. What am I here for? I forget. Anybody? Can you help me? No? Okay. Never mind. Go ahead.
Oh, nice. That's okay. Just follow the shells. We'll get to the review.
Okay.
Jesus. Spoiler.
No.
Jim.
What?
Just keep reviewing. Keep reviewing.
I'll keep reviewing. I'm sorry to interrupt. I'm sorry. I should remember to shut up, but sometimes I can't remember things.
It's all right. No worries. Anyway, so as my co-hosts are alluding, we are reviewing Finding Dory this week, the follow-up film to 2003's Finding Nemo. But before we get to that, we've got a little bit more to talk about. We're going to dish up some movie news here in a second, but I just wanted to call out real quick, you guys, welcome to episode 188.
Oh, wow.
188. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of episodes. You remember back in episode 45 when we reviewed some movie that we don't even remember nowadays?
Yeah.
Oh, goodness. Yeah, totally. I was just looking back through the list today because when I log into the system I use to kind of track like our download and listener numbers, I can kind of see like who's downloaded like what episodes are getting downloaded every day. And our Silver Linings Playbook and Django Unchained episode got a download today.
Oh, wow.
Wow.
That was like our second episode ever. It was kind of crazy. So
about that.
Not even counting lists, just talking main reviews, because we've doubled up several times. At this point, we've easily, like the three of us have talked about 200, maybe even 250 movies together. That's a lot of movies. We've seen a lot of movies, guys.
I know. Right. Hey, Will, I just noticed this in your background. Wink, wink. I actually noticed it earlier before we started broadcasting, but I see you've got a bearskin hat on your table there.
Yeah, I'm going to put it on my head real quick for the video. Not a shameless plug as much as just I've been wearing this hat for a while, and I just happened to have it behind me when we started up today, and I was like, oh, I'll keep it in frame. It's one of my go-to caps these days.
Nice. Well, Bearskin has been giving us some shout-outs lately, publishing some of our movie reviews on the Bear World Magazine website. So, Bearskin,
oh, wow.
Guys, love your products.
Super comfy underwear. Yeah.
We're gonna start calling Will product placement Will.
Yeah. Hold on, let me have some Negro Modelo beer. What else do I have near me? Like, someone give us money. Like, I will pitch whatever. Like, I will whore myself out for funding. I don't care.
Oh goodness! Can I give a shout out to Funko Pop?
I think we are very able to give a shout out to Funko Pop. Oh, you got the Steven Universe one.
Steven Universe. And Jim's favorite. Got it.
Yes. So cool.
Hello, Steven. Anyway, Jim, what's your product placement?
My product placement is it's going to be fish related because we're reviewing Finding Dory today, and it's going to be Chewy's, the restaurant in Austin.
Yes, I'd hit that.
Yep.
Nice. For those of you who can't see it, it's a Chewy shirt from the restaurant. It's like a rainbow-colored piñata with like a lightsaber, and it says, "I'd hit that."
I couldn't see it either. I was just talking about Jim.
Oh well.
Yeah.
Nice.
Can't see it. I'm in my underwear, so.
So am I. Imagine that. Business on top, party on the bottom.
We're all Porky Piggin. I'm not, but it'd be funnier if I was.
Party with a bottom? What? Anyway.
Yeah, I'm not trying to steal the Underbears podcast, thunder, because they have a good thing going too.
Oh yeah.
But we just don't get on in our underwear. You know what I mean? We're not on screen in our underwear, but we are
Yeah, we
often
keep that
in
off
our
frame.
underwear. Yeah.
Right, right. When you're Mike Levins and like the broadcast ends, and yeah, Mike Levins, we adore you. Anyway, so guys, let's go ahead and get to it here. Are we ready to dive in?
Let's do it. Let's dive right in.
Let's
All
get
right.
wet.
Well, before you get too wet, let's talk about a little movie news. All right, so this is the part of the show where we catch up on some of the news from the film industry that has been catching our interest or weighing on our mind recently. I hate to kick things off on kind of a somber note, but we are big fans of the new Star Trek franchise, and some sad news over the weekend. Anton Yelchin, who played Chekhov in the new J.J. Abrams movies, has, of course, passed away. You may have heard the news. I was doing a little bit of research because more and more information is coming out about what happened, and I guess his Jeep was part of a safety recall. It was a voluntary recall. Some kind of sensor couldn't tell if the car was actually in park versus in neutral, so like when you put it in gear, even though it says it's in park, something didn't trip and it didn't actually go into park. So got out of the Jeep, the Jeep rolled back, and you know. Yeah, so definitely really bummed, of course, for this news. Really enjoyed him both in the new Star Trek films, but we were kind of raving about Green Room recently as well, and he was in that film too. So definitely a big bummer. Did you guys? I mean, did you enjoy Anton's Chekhov?
Yeah, I mean, like when I think about Anton Yelchin, like I think it's very easy to think first of the Chekhov character because it's probably been his most his biggest role. Certainly the only role that he's played in multiple films, and so that obviously sucks for fans of that franchise. For fans of this actor. For me, this is a guy who, like, Green Room is, spoiler alert for an episode we've got coming up probably pretty soon. My favorite movie of the year with a bullet right now, and the fact that, this is such a young, talented actor who did such an amazing job in that film. This dude did great stuff in Odd Thomas, which was not a great written movie, but he outperformed the material. Same with Charlie Bartlett, the TV show Huff. Like, this is a guy who, whenever he was on screen, he mesmerized me. He had such talent, especially for his age and for the type of roles that he played. And it sucks. It sucks to see someone kind of snuffed out before they have a chance to really do all of the things that they're capable of.
Yeah, just so young. I mean, it's tragic. I mean, accidents happen, and this is just a reminder of that. But it's sad when it's somebody that kind of collectively as movie fans we all know, and we were looking for more great things from him. He was awesome as the lead in Green Room, as you said, Will. There are some movies that he did that I think I've got to catch up on. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter and Facebook talk about his role in a movie called Like Crazy, which is getting a lot of talk. So that's one I'm gonna look at. I remember he was in the new the Fright Night remake, if you guys remember.
Mm-hmm.
Yes, he was.
And, it was good in that. Of course, I am a fan of the new Star Trek series, and that movie is going to be dropping. When is that? Like in a few weeks? I don't know. In a couple weeks, maybe.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really sad, and it's always shocking. This year's been rough, but everyone talks about how this year's been really rough about the people that we've lost this year, but I mean the beat goes on. It's just a sobering reminder that we're only here for a short time, but I've enjoyed his work, and I'll continue to enjoy the stuff that he's put out.
Absolutely. Well, definitely very much looking forward to Star Trek Beyond. Want to see his performance for sure. But Will, what have you got this week?
Well, let's see. Do I have something that'll bring us up a little bit? Maybe. So, fans of film, there's these legends that pop up within kind of like the film fandom, this movie was never finished, this movie was being worked on, and I heard the reason so and so dropped out of this movie is because of this. And one of those legends has finally kind of come to the surface, and that's back in the 70s, Jerry Lewis started shooting this film called The Day the Clown Cried. This is a film that's it was kind of his bid at kind of like an Oscar. It was kind of his bid at like doing the Holocaust movie, and he played this clown who was in this concentration camp because of basically he's a political prisoner, and he's kind of forced by the the Nazi regime to take these Jewish children and like entertain them before kind of piping them off to the gas chambers. Ghastly stuff. But powerful stuff too. It's like this. We've seen this type of storyline kind of come to life more recently, and like Life is Beautiful and other types of stories that kind of look at the Holocaust through other lenses. But anyways, so there were like funding issues, and then Jerry Lewis backed out of like he wasn't sure about the quality of it. He didn't think people would like it, so this film got shelved. And no one got a chance to ever see this movie, save for Harry Shearer, who in the 90s came across the film, got a chance to watch it, and kind of like revitalized the legend. Well, finally, this group came around and they did a documentary with some reenactments and with some footage that was released to them. And someone went and stitched all of that together along with some title cards so you can see the missing spots, so that you've got like a 30-minute rough cut of this movie, and it's on YouTube. I don't know how long it's going to be on YouTube because they fought really hard to keep this film from being seen. In fact, the Library of Congress has the actual full copy of it, and they're not legally allowed to release it until like 2024. So it's like, if you want to get a chance to see anything even resembling this movie anytime in the next 8 years, track it down on YouTube. It's The Day the Clown Cried. It's rough. It's rough. I mean, there's like title cards where it just kind of fills in the dialogue, but it's totally worth watching, especially since this is one of those holy grails that like people that have been talking about film have been kind of like whispering about for years. Now's your chance to see kind of as close as we're going to get to see it.
Yeah, I had heard about this movie, and I had actually seen some kind of like behind the scenes footage of this movie being shot. Of course, the movie never came out, and I forget where I saw that, but I remember seeing it like, oh my God, somebody someday needs to get their hands on that and get it out. It sounds like it's going to happen, but maybe in 2024 or 2025, maybe. And yes, I had heard that Jerry Lewis didn't like it. I heard maybe there was some feedback to him that the film was not going to be any good, or audiences were not going to like it. Maybe the subject matter, it was too grim for audiences at the time, because this was when, Will? Was this like the 70s or 60s?
Like 1972.
Yeah. So, I mean, movies have mainstream movies have kind of changed a lot since then. So, yeah, I might check it out. And I thought you were going to tell me that, oh my God, this movie's coming out, but I'll have to settle for this like fan-made version of the film, I guess, with some clips from the actual film. But
one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, Jim, what have you got this week?
Let me see. I've got news on a movie that's coming out. We're going to be reviewing Finding Dory, as we talked about. That's the Disney Pixar production, the latest Disney Pixar production. Well, Disney has a film coming out that I've been looking forward to called Moana. It's another animated film. Has I guess it's going to be a musical, so there's going to be music in it, featuring songs by Lin-Manuel Miranda, the guy who's behind. We talked about him right last week, I think, or 2 weeks ago. Will, you plugged the In the Heights movie that's going to be coming out. So yeah, he's a creative in the Heights and the Smash Hamilton. This voice cast includes Dwayne Johnson playing this like Polynesian demigod. There you go, demigod. And I just found out this movie's directed by these two guys, Ron Clements and John Musker. They are the directors of classics like The Little Mermaid, Aladdin, Hercules. I don't know where these guys have been. I guess they've done The Princess and the Frog. But yeah, the movie's about this princess who's the daughter of a chief. It's a coming-of-age movie. She sets off for this fabled island with this demigod, Maui, played by, or voiced by Dwayne Johnson. The teaser trailer just came out last week, and it looks amazing. I can't wait to see like a full trailer for this movie. The movie opens Thanksgiving, so it also kind of fits in with our theme. Disney Pixar. This is a Disney Animation Studios movie, not a Pixar movie. So,
right.
They do their own things, I guess. Sometimes, kind of like an open relationship between Disney and Pixar. They do things together. They do things with other people.
But they always tell each other about it.
Yeah, they always tell each other and everybody else about it.
Because they don't want to be like at a bar and then someone's like, "Oh my God, did you see Frozen?" "Oh, I did see Frozen." But I
Anyway, so Princess Moana. It's one of the animated movies that I'm kind of really excited about. That's going to be coming out. Have you guys heard of this? Seen it?
Saw the teaser trailer last week. Thought it was phenomenal. Cannot wait. I actually really want one of those fishhook necklaces now, just because of that trailer.
Should make one.
I could. When I was in Oahu like 10 years ago at this point, God, I feel so old. I saw those necklaces. I mean, they're like $10 a piece. There's like thousands of them, in the international marketplace when you walk through in Waikiki. And back then I was like, ugh, that's like the stock tourist necklace. That's so dumb. I'm gonna get something else. And now I'm like, damn it! I should have gotten one of those.
Now you won't find it because Disney's got copyright all over it.
Right?
Have a look on Etsy. You'll find one. You'll find one that looks just like the one from the movie. Maybe. Down to the detail. Yeah.
But the movie does look fantastic. I guess Dwayne Johnson has left the Rock title behind at this point. He's kind of a guilty pleasure for us, right? We've been kind of enjoying him in the Fast and Furious movies. Really liked him in San Andreas, even though that movie was kind of terrible. He's in a new comedy too, right, with Kevin Hart, Jim?
Central Intelligence, which has been getting some pretty good reviews, like better than you'd expect for
a Kevin Hart movie.
A Kevin Hart comedy movie. And it's definitely on my list. If I could have gotten out this weekend, we might have seen it. Yeah. I also liked him in an older movie called The Rundown, if you guys ever saw that one, with, what's his name, William Scott.
Sean William Scott, right?
Yeah,
right.
And I thought that movie was hilarious. The guy just oozes charisma. You can say what you want about his acting capability, but it's almost like his acting chops are kind of overshadowed by just his his screen presence.
I would say he's really good at outperforming his material very often. Like, think about a movie like Pain and Gain, which is like, one of those movies that I walked out of going like, you know what, guys? Kind of enjoyed this movie, which was not something I was expecting from like a Michael Bay movie about like steroid pushing weightlifters. But Dwayne Johnson was so good in that. He was so good.
Yeah, but I mean, put him in a role of like this giant, tattooed Polynesian demigod. That sounds perfect. That's right
up his alley, right?
Sign me up.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well, cool. Well, definitely looking forward to that. It's not Thanksgiving without a Disney release, right? We had Frozen. We had Good Dinosaur last year, right?
Yeah, so. I got to be honest. I mean, these days, sometimes these animated movies, like Finding Dory and Moana, and we talked a little bit about Pete's Dragon. It's not animated, but it's got an animated. It's got CGI. It's based on a semi-animated thing. We got this movie called The Red Turtle coming out pretty soon. Mm-hmm. I'm just excited about a lot of these animated movies. I don't know where that's coming from in me, but
Kubo and the Two Strings.
Kubo, yeah.
Good animation is just as legitimate of an art form as live action or CGI or anything that you'll get. Now, granted, there's a lot of crappy animation out there too. But like companies like Disney and Pixar, DreamWorks, some of the time, are really good at like holding the beacon really high and saying, yeah, like we're gonna make real films.
Indeed,
Yeah.
indeed.
Excited.
All right, excellent. Well, speaking of quality, animated films, are we ready to get to our review for this week?
Let's do it.
Yeah, let's go deep.
Let's just keep swimming, if you will.
Let's go deep into the open ocean.
Into our discussion of Finding Dory. All right, so just to make you aware, in case you were tuning into the show for the first time or you're not familiar with our format for some reason, and if that's the case, welcome. Glad to have you. We adore you. If you've been with us for a long time, we adore you too. But we are going to talk about this movie spoiler-free for probably 15-ish minutes. And if you're watching live, you may want to, when we hit that spoiler warning of awesomeness +5, you may want to step away for 20 minutes or so, make a sandwich if you've got to, come on back. Otherwise, use the handy-dandy time index show notes if you're listening on digital tape delay to go ahead and skip around as needed. But fret not, we're going to give you some initial thoughts on this film, spoiler-free, before we take you to Spoiler Town. But Jim, why don't you go ahead and kick us off here? What's the basic premise? It's been like 13 years since Finding Nemo. What's the premise of this film?
I know, right?
Do you think it's worth people checking out?
Well, yeah, I couldn't believe when somebody said this film was, it had been 13 years since Finding Nemo. It just didn't seem that long to me. And, it's kind of astounding that the studio kind of let it lie that long. I don't know the story behind, why they didn't get a sequel out in a more traditional period of time, maybe, 4, 5, 6 years, whatever. But I'm sure there's a story there. But as far as the synopsis of Finding Dory, let me just read one from Wiki or whatever. So, Dory is a wide-eyed blue tang fish who suffers from short-term memory loss. In the sequel to Pixar's 2003 classic and massively successful Finding Nemo, where we first meet her, the one thing Dory can remember is that she somehow became separated from her parents as a child. With help from her friends Nemo and Marlin, Dory embarks on an epic adventure to find them. Her journey brings her to the Marine Life Institute, a conservatory that houses diverse ocean species. Dory now knows that her family reunion will only happen if she can save Mom and Dad from captivity. So there you go. There's the basic premise. I don't think that spoiled a lot. I think a lot of that is right in the trailer. Basically, Dory's mission is to find her parents, and we're focusing on Dory this time. Dory was one of the... She wasn't Nemo, she wasn't Nemo's dad, but she was probably one of the 3 main characters in the first movie, Finding Nemo. Definitely more than just a side character. She wasn't a minion in, the Despicable Me movie.
Right.
I enjoyed this movie. I think it's a fitting follow-up to Finding Nemo. I think it does some things a little bit differently, although it felt very familiar. It's set in the same world. I think they tried to do a little something different by taking you mostly out of the ocean and putting you into a artificial ocean, which is a big fictional public aquarium type place called the Marine Life Institute on the Oro coast of, of California. And I think this movie does kind of, for me anyway, fall a little bit into the sequel curse of kind of having to stand up to its predecessor. Not to the point that makes this movie unsuccessful or makes this a bad movie. I just don't think that it quite stands up to the original, and that's a hard thing to do. And there's certainly enough to like in this movie, right? The Pixar formula is there. It has lots of great characters, the familiar characters we know. introduces some great new characters that I thought were pretty interesting. It has a compelling main storyline, just like Finding Nemo did. I think as compelling, this storyline. Maybe a life lesson or two thrown in there, and we could talk about what this movie kind of has to say, particularly about kind of coming to terms with one's personal limitations and specialness, I guess. And I think that's kind of where this movie focused its message, that hopefully some of the younger people who watch this movie will get. As far as the structure of this movie, I like the first act of this movie a lot, where we were introduced to this world, reacquainted with those main characters, and kind of the setup of the main storyline, which of course is Dory's quest. We go across the ocean again to find her parents. Will we find her parents or not? I don't know. That's in spoilers. We'll talk about that ending, what happens at the end. I thought the second act was very good too, as the story kind of got going and we started to meet some of those new characters. But then the third act, I think, was a bit of a mess, kind of fell into some traps, at least for me, some things I don't like to see in these movies, and I wish it had kind of taken some things in different directions. Overall, I think this is a good movie. Not really a great one, but one that I would definitely recommend to anyone looking for a movie. Especially now, we just haven't had any really great movies that are released out in theaters right now. So this one, I think, is one that I can easily recommend. It'll appeal to a wide audience, kids, people our age, maybe even young adults. I think would go to see this one. Yeah, so I would definitely recommend this movie. And another reason I would recommend this movie is for the short that's in front of it called Piper, which I thought was very innovative visually. I thought it was like astoundingly. We talked a little about the animation in The Good Dinosaur. This was that level of like almost realistic type animation, and it was another story that's told without dialogue. Nothing spectacular story-wise, but it's. I don't want to spoil anything by saying what's in it, what's not in it, but definitely I think this is one of the better Pixar shorts, and it kind of fits with the theme of the movie too. So, yeah, I would say definitely go see this one.
All right, awesome. So real quick, just a couple of things here. If you want to tell us your thoughts, we're honored that you tune in to hear ours, but we'd love to hear yours too. So feel free, if you were watching live, to go ahead and comment in the Q&A section, or if you're watching on Facebook, just drop a comment on the video post there, and we'll be happy to read your thoughts on air, assuming they are appropriate for all audiences. Second, I want to give a quick shout out to a friend of the show, Paul, who is currently watching, and he sent us a photo of him enjoying the podcast, so I'll go ahead and put that up on the screen right now. There's Paul enjoying a Smart Water while watching us. Hey, Paul!
Awesome! Hey, Paul!
While watching Brad perform on his monitor.
I don't know that I'm performing on his. That's a little. I'm totally digging his dual screen setup there, right there. Yeah. That's pretty awesome. But yeah. So hey, Paul, glad you are watching. Hope that you enjoy. So for me, just to talk about this film a little bit, Jim, you called out some of the things that I would probably call out too. I think our line of thinking is pretty in line. I liked this movie. I didn't love this movie. I don't think it kind of captured some of the emotional resonance that Finding Nemo did for me. And I think part of the problem there is just it reuses a lot of the beats from the original film, and you can't avoid that. You know what I mean? It's not. I mean, the main three characters are the main three characters from the first film, right? So there's not a ton of like new sort of like character beats or discovery. I guess to some degree with Dory and finding her parents, does she or not? What is that adventure along the way? But it's not quite the same thing as like a little kid being lost and a father being distraught over his kid being lost and getting disheartened that he's never going to find him again. Like if Dory doesn't find her parents, okay, that's sad. Who the fuck cares? Like she'll still be okay. She's not like going to be, I don't know, like in mortal
Yeah.
danger alone for the rest of her life. She's got Marlin and Nemo. You know what I mean? So I guess for me the stakes weren't as big as in Finding Nemo. So it just didn't seem as sort of emotionally driven for me. I did really like the animation though. I also like that they intentionally, rather than like completely revolutionizing what they did in the first film, they've kept everything looking very similar. Like, the drop off still looks like the drop off. The anemone still looks like the anemone. You know what I mean? Like, it's almost like you could watch Finding Nemo and then Finding Dory right after it, and they just visually look like they kind of piggyback off of each other, which is by design. It should. I was a little worried with the 13-year gap that because the technology has really advanced forward, that it was going to look too different. The textures were going to be too off. It was going to be too realistic. It was going to be too things that make it incongruous with the first film. So I really like that it sort of kept that look sort of consistent. Ellen DeGeneres is great as Dory in Finding Nemo. And I love Ellen, but I will say a little of her goes a long way. And I think for me, this movie suffers a little bit of Minionism is what I'm calling it. I loved the Minions in the Despicable Me movies, but when they got a whole movie about them, I fucking hate them now. Like, I put my Minion toys on my desk away.
Oh.
Like, I'm done with the Minions for now. And I still like the Dory character. I still like Ellen, but I just kind of feel like she's better as a supporting cast member than, like, a main cast member here. Like, the shtick kind of gets a little bit old. Like, the water in the aquarium needs to get changed once in a while because it's getting a little algae filled. I don't know. It's funny. It's cute. I liked it overall. Albert Brooks was great. I mean, he definitely brings some heart as Marlin. I like that he's sort of this, he's still a protective dad. He's still trying to protect Nemo, of course, who is now voiced by another actor, Hayden Rollins, because the original actor, of course, no longer has the same voice and doesn't sound like Nemo anymore because he's 13 years older. I liked Ty Burrell coming in as Bailey. He was kind of one of my favorite characters. We'll talk more about him in spoilers. And Ed O'Neill as Hank, the octopus. I really enjoyed as well. In fact, I didn't realize it was Ed O'Neill until I was looking up the cast afterward. I was like, I know that voice. Who is that? Oh, right, it's Ed O'Neill. So this one's a recommend for me. Not as good as the first one, but still pretty enjoyable. Will, how about you? Where do you kind of fall on the spectrum?
I fall on the farther end of the spectrum. I actually loved this movie. I mean, I think it's fair to say that, like, did I like Finding Nemo better than Finding Dory? Yeah, probably. But I would also say Finding Nemo is one of the best animated films of all time. So for its sequel to not be one of the best animated films of all time, it can do that and still be a great film and one of the best films that's probably come out this year. I absolutely adored this film, kind of forward and backwards. Not to say it was perfect, but I think that this film captured all of the heart of the original film. I think all of the voice actors really brought their A game. The major characters, the supporting characters, the people that just showed up for one scene, I thought everyone was ridiculously compelling here. CGI was just like Finding Nemo, beautiful. They understood what their art style and art direction was, and they played to that perfectly. And I actually really liked Dory as the main character here. I think in the first film we get this character who's this quirky character who's got this weird memory thing, and she plays support to this family drama. And here we actually flesh it out, and her story is much more tragic than I think we would have been led to believe in Finding Nemo. This is a character who. This is in the trailers. She has like an actual disability. It's not just like, oh, she's the forgetful character. Like, she has a disability. And that's something that, if we're talking about cool messages for kids, like, this is a character with a disability overcoming that because of, the stuff that they have to face. We'll talk about it in spoilers. And I think Ellen played that really well, and I don't think she can do it alone. I think it's because she had great performances to bounce off of. Ed O'Neill was one of them as Hank, the octopus, septopus, that thing. I had a different experience, Brad. He was I saw it at Alamo Draft House, and we had the like before they have the no talking PSAs. So Ed O'Neill came out and did the no talking PSA for this one. Like, in Finding Dory, I play this. Don't let us throw you off to sea if you talk. So I didn't get a chance to kind of be like, go into it like blind, but really, really liked so much about this movie. There was one thing, I liked the third act. There's one thing in the third act I don't like, and we'll talk about that. There was one scene that should have ended sooner than it did.
Yeah.
But aside from that, that was really a quibble for me. I absolutely love this movie. I think this is something that if you're a kid, if you're an adult, if you're anywhere in between, I think you're going to have a good time seeing this movie. And I think that there are very few films out there that fall into such a universal category. I broadly recommend this to anyone, like not even with reservations, like, oh, you have to like horror films or you have to like this. Like, if you are a person, go watch this movie.
Mm-hmm.
Well, there you go. 3 strong recommends from the Movie Bears podcast. If you haven't seen it yet, definitely go out and do so. But we are going to take it to Spoiler Town. So if you have not seen the film yet and you don't want to be spoiled, now is your opportunity to go swim away, come back later for plugs. But spoilers are officially fair game. I'm giving you time, if you're listening in your car, to reach out and hit that pause button. You've got 3 more seconds.
Swim away.
Swim away now. We're going to do it in 3, 2, 1. All right. Be it on you if you get spoiled at this point. You know, because of Game of Thrones, guys, I'm like super, like hypersensitive to spoiling people lately. So we're given extra seconds. Anyway, you've used up your extra seconds plus at this point. Spoilers are officially fair game. So where to start with this one? We talked about sort of the disability, right, that Dory has. Again, it's not just that she's forgetful, but she actually has like a real problem. Obviously, she's not a goldfish character, so in the original movie, you know, you kind of suspect that maybe there's something going on, but we get it fleshed out here. We get to see her parents. My question is like, so what has like happened? Was it the electric shock of the sea anemone that like is jogging her memory, or like why is she all of a sudden remembering things that she didn't before? What do you guys think?
I think the movie wants us to believe that she sometimes does remember things. Like, things will come back to her randomly, like in flashes, and she'll say, "Oh my God, I remember this." But guess what? The opposite side of that is she could forget that thing again within minutes. You know what I mean?
How tragic is that?
Yeah, I know. So she'll remember this thing, and she'll start doing something, and then she'll forget all about why she's doing it in the first place. And I really like the way the movie. I mean, the first movie played with that mostly for comedy. The first movie, comedy beats. It did recognize it that as a disability. It didn't make fun of her too much for that, but this movie really explored it as, hey, this is part of Dory. It showed some early scenes in the movie in the first act, which I love, about how her parents were recognized what was going on and the things that they did to kind of, help Dory, learn and deal with it. And I just liked that view, and that's why I think this movie holds something for parents too, about dealing with disabilities and for kids. I just liked all that, and that whole concept about how, sometimes memories, and we have this, right? Even if we don't have memory short-term problems, there's memories that are just, they're kind of right out of reach. You can kind of like, oh my God, I think I remember this, but it's like right out of reach, and you can't remember the detail you want to. It kind of goes back to that other Pixar movie, right? We saw, help me out, Inside Out, where it showed the memories kind of fading, you know what I mean? And it would have been cool if they had a little tie-in to Inside Out. And Dory's memories and the memory bank and all that stuff, that would have been awesome.
It cuts inside of her brain, and it goes to the control panel, and there's just like
little
Dory's.
Dory.
They're just like all off elsewhere, like just kind of like
would have been a great stinger, I think. Anyway, we didn't
what is this book doing again? Yeah.
But I mean, that's why I love the first act of this movie. And then as the movie got more and more plot driven, like, oh, I got to go to X to Y to Z to find, B, A, and B. That's where the movie fell off a little bit for me. But that's my taste. It doesn't mean it was done poorly. It just means my taste is more for that kind of emotional resonance that I'm looking for, not the slapsticky.
Right.
Let's see how fish can drive trucks. You know what I mean?
You mentioned like how the disability is sort of treated, right? And even though this movie didn't have the same emotional resonance as Finding Nemo did for me, it definitely still had some, like enough that like I care about the characters. I'm feeling the feels a little bit. There's a point in the movie where Marlin gets so frustrated with Dory, he just tells her, "Look, you go over there and wait and forget, because that's what you do best. Just get away. Nemo's hurt. Go do that." And I don't know. Maybe not a lot of people have had to deal with this, but like I had a grandfather with Alzheimer's, and my grandmother had dementia really bad, and they both would have these spells where they would like tell a story, and then a minute later they're telling the same story all over again. And with my grandma, just before she passed, it got to the point where, she was like asking the same question over and over and over again 20 times in a row. She'd be like, "Bradley, how did you sleep last night?" And I'd be like, "I slept great, Grandma. How about you?" "Oh, I slept good too." A minute later of watching TV, she'd ask it again and again and again. And the reason I'm talking about this is I like that we got sort of a natural reaction from Marlin. It's not that he was trying to hurt Dory. It's not that he was, trying to be mean. It just, all this frustration and stuff just sort of came out sideways, right? And you see how it can kind of maybe affect somebody who has a disability that they can't control. You know what I mean? And I don't know. I think they could have made it like happy hunky dory, like, "Don't worry, Dory, it's okay, don't worry about it."
Dory.
Hunky dory. Sorry. But I like that they kind of had a real moment around that. I thought that was very resonant.
Absolutely, and I think that's why I did get so many of the feels to this movie, like, because I think, certainly the story of a father trying to find his son has emotional pull, but also, like, the fragility of our memories, that's something that I feel like a lot of us have either faced through family members with dementia, Alzheimer's, what have you, or fear ourselves. Like, one of the things that I fear personally most about growing older is like all of these fantastic things that I've experienced, like, are going to get fuzzy to me. That is an absolutely terrifying thought to me. So when I think about this character, and this is something that she lives in, not just in terms of like this is something I'll face someday, but this is her every single day of her life, every minute of her life. That gives me some hooks already, and then to see it play out in the way that she's frustrated with herself, like she's constantly like, I can't do this on my own, and she has to sort of learn how to prop herself up. The first part of the movie is all based on her relying on other people and kind of being dragged, and she has to kind of figure out things herself to move things forward from there. That's why I like the more plot-driven parts of the story, because it's all her figuring things out, building bonds with characters, and moving things forward. And I think that also goes back to why I think this whole thing kicked in. Like, we don't know. I don't think it said exactly how many years it's been since she was orphaned.
They did say years, though.
It's been years, yeah. And it's only been 1 year. We know this also in timeline. That it's only been 1 year since the Finding Nemo stuff. So it's very likely that during those years, she remembered her parents other times too, but she never had anyone that she can go, "Hey Marlin, hey Nemo, I remembered my family. Help me remember this thing." If Nemo hadn't remembered the name of that California Institute during that and repeated it back to her, it would have slipped out of Dory's mind, and we wouldn't have had a movie here. So there's this great little dichotomy here where, when you're someone with a disability, there's this need to be able to find ways to kind of to stand up and do things on your own and kind of assert some will over your life, at the same time having people that support you and the people in your lives kind of being there to help you as well. And it's not an easy thing. We saw Marlon get frustrated. We saw all of the characters got pissed off in some way, shape, or form with Dory at some point. So I loved so much the way this film explored its story. Jim, you mentioned the one thing that I did have a problem with. I didn't mind the third act at all. I thought the third act was thrilling and interesting, but I didn't like the little car chase sequence. And that was just a small little coda at the end of like an already kind of thrilling third act thing. I didn't like the car chase thing. Right. I think that hurt things, but everything before that and everything after that was perfectly fine.
Yeah.
And even up to the point where they were escaping from the truck, like when they get locked in right there at the end. Yeah. Like I was fine up until that. It's just when they actually got in the driver's seat. So it's just a very small window I didn't enjoy.
Right. And I'm not saying the third act was bad. It's fine. People are going to enjoy the hell out of it. It sounds like you did well, and that's awesome. My only issue with it was, first of all, it seemed like there was one too many endings to this movie. There was an ending when Dory found her parents, and we'll talk about that part a little bit because I thought that was a little that was very interesting for me the way they handled that. And then they, oh no, but it's not over because these friends are going off. I don't know. Somebody got caught in the truck, and now
Right.
we're starting up the plot again. And I'm like, oh, we can't really just enjoy her being back with her parents and like how that was being separated for so long and all that stuff. There was a lot of emotional soil I thought they could have mined there, and maybe, I don't know, maybe it was too dark or maybe it was too emotional for this kind of movie. The scene where I almost wish that she didn't actually find her parents in this movie. I know that sounds bad. But it seems like this movie kind of backed away. I know when I was reading reviews on the Good Dinosaur, and a lot of criticism that it got with, oh, it's dark, it does this, he goes through hell, he loses a parent. Spoilers for the Good Dinosaur. Here, and even in Finding Nemo, and spoilers for Finding Nemo, Nemo's mom disappears. Right, she gets killed. I mean, right. Disney is famous for doing that stuff. In this movie, they seem to back off that quite a bit. Yeah. There was none of that kind of darkness or tragedy kind of stuff in this movie, and that was strange. I'm not saying they have to put it in because it's kind of part of the formula, and it's kind of good in a way that they subverted that. But there was that one scene at the end where she reunites with her parents, she follows the shells, it's awesome. It was almost dreamlike the way it happened in that scene, and I was saying to myself, oh, they're going to kill me here. They're going to make it, they're going to actually make it a dream where she finds her parents, but they're not really there. You know what I mean?
There's fish skeletons in the
not that dark, but just stuff fades and she maybe Nemo and Marlin show up and they comfort her and we're your family or whatever. But it was wrapped up really, really neatly. Yeah.
I see what you're saying, and I think that's kind of where I was hoping it was going to go too. Is there's sort of been this message of family isn't just who you're born to, but it's who you choose to surround yourself with. It's sometimes the family you find can be more powerful than the family you're born into. Yeah. So definitely there's a good message there. I think it's a weird line to walk though, because it'd be one thing if she had a memory early on about a parent passing away, but to go through the whole hijinks of the whole movie, getting there, to then have them be gone, I think for kids is a little too hard. I think for adults it's bittersweet, and I would love that. But
and it gets darker then too, Brad, because not only that, then the rest of the story would play out where she would then forget about finding her parents that are dead, forgetting the fact that they died. And constantly being reminded, I should go find my parents. Dory, remember we went last year and they died? So I think
don't you remember you actually killed them?
But there could be a poignancy to her forgetting and them telling her, oh, we did find them. They love you. They're just across the sea. They know they're dead. She doesn't. I just got goosebumps and misty thinking about that. But hey, we have a comment from a listener that I want to get to because it's topical to what we're talking about. I saved it. So we're hearing from Dane from Cardiff, who says, long-time listener, love the show. Woke up early to listen. It's 4 a.m. here. Yikes. But he says, question, how many miles of shells do you think Dory's parents had to lay out for her to find them? So, first of all, Dane, very honored that you woke up at like 3:30 in the morning to listen to us. That's crazy, but thank you. Second, what do you guys think? I mean, how many miles of shells?
I have no idea, but I thought that was an awesome story point that they put in there, that her parents, you know, obviously had faith that they would maybe find their child one day and just kept collecting shells and laying out these shells and kind of had faith that she would remember that one thing, you know, about the shells. I thought that was really touching, and I thought that was a great reveal at that moment in the story. I thought that was wonderful. But I have no idea how many miles of shells they would have had to lay out.
Absolutely, and I think that's the poignancy of this film, is that we've got like two different types of family. We've got the family that, you know, we surround ourselves with, then our blood family, and I like that this film let us have both, you know, like that we can have, you know, we don't have to choose one or the other, that both can be important parts of our lives. And I strongly believe that those two parents there, they probably laid miles of shells. And if they hadn't found Dory there, they probably would have kept leaving shells until their dying day. And there's something like extremely powerful and like just, I don't know, like the same thing, Jim, when I saw that scene and just all those shells spiraling out, like that was like my misty-eyed moment. Like that was so damn powerful.
That was powerful.
Yeah.
But and so this is the moment where, you know, if you're a parent and you have a kid and you bring them to the movie, you go to the beach and you're like, you see these shells, like maybe we can follow the shells and find out where Dory is, you know, like that would be awesome.
Hope they don't lead to like jellyfish or something like that. Don't touch that, kid.
Alligator.
Look! Oh my God, Jim! I can't believe you went there. While we're talking about a Disney movie.
Speaking of dark, sorry.
Wow, that's crazy.
Maybe I'll edit that out.
No, you have. It's part of our MBP history now.
That was awful.
Leave it, Jim, so that all of our listeners can know just the sick fucking thoughts that go through your brain.
What a sick fuck.
Oh goodness. Well, I'm glad that we all had a very positive experience with Finding Dory. You know, maybe not as good as Finding Nemo, but definitely a fun film. Some very cute moments. I feel like there's even more that we could talk about. But man,
can I mention one thing?
Yeah, of course.
So I think we might have missed the stinger, Brad.
Oh?
We did not stay to the end of the end credits. We only saw the what happened during the credits.
Uh-huh.
And I think my app may have misled us.
Oh, did it? Because
Will, did you stay the whole time?
I didn't. I left during the credits, so yeah, I guess there is something afterwards. I read afterwards.
Someone told me there was something afterwards, and unfortunately, the app that I use, and I'm going to call this fucking app out right now, it's called Anything After. It says for Finding Dory, there is something during the credits. It doesn't say anything about. Usually, it'll say during and after the credits, but this one just says it's during the credits. And I thought I heard or read somewhere that today that there was a post-credits stinger scene. Yeah. Don't know what it was, but I heard it was worth paying for.
I read up on what it was, and yeah, I mean, it wasn't anything that's super important to the plot, but it's pull back to the first one. I will also say, like, one thing that people should do if they get a chance, there's some great articles, we won't talk about them here because we go on all day, but there's some great news reports from all the way back in 2013 where the release of the documentary Blackfish actually changed the course of this film a little bit.
It was evident.
Yeah, so that it's just kind of interesting things how like how film can like affect real life in such a way that it then impacts other films and the way that we palette different types of information. So very worth looking into.
I think it was very evident about how the message was several times in this movie that the goal of the Marine Life Institute was capture, rehabilitate, and release. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Right. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
Which
Sigourney Weaver.
Sigourney Weaver, I thought that was a pretty funny joke. But they kept pushing that like positive message about this Marine Life Institute, went to counter some of the awful stuff we've seen in other documentaries and news accounts and everything else. So and that was very interesting to me, how they folded that in. Kind of an even-handed. I mean, crazy stuff went on at the Marine Life Institute that animals had to escape from, but it wasn't like horrible, like
it wasn't menacing. Yeah.
No, it wasn't menacing. No.
I mean, they let that poor whale keep swimming into a wall and hurting herself constantly.
Right.
So,
Protest.
Hey, so one more thing I wanted to call out before we move on to plugs. Hey, Jim, you remember on the Survivor finale how Sia came up and gave money away, and we were like, why the fuck is Sia on Survivor right now?
Right.
She sang that version of Unforgettable for the end credits.
Oh, did she? That
was
nice.
her. Yeah.
That's nice.
Which is funny because her version of that song was, it was not unforgettable to me, unfortunately.
Did you guys have anything notable about the score for this movie? Never mind the song at the end, but I mean about the score. Do you guys? It didn't really resonate with me. I don't know. There's some. It seemed kind of generic.
It was fine. Like
but nothing stood out. I mean, there are some soundtracks that like, oh wow, I really love that motif, and I love how. But not really this one.
Not really here, but now we've officially talked about the score and one of the songs, so it's fair game to use 30 seconds of it as a show bumper.
That's how we do it. That's fair use. I love it. I'm seeing Sia in November. I will ask her all those questions.
There you go. Do it, Will. Do it.
You're never going to actually see her. You know that, right?
No. No, I'm going to snatch that wig off of her eyes and you can watch these on stage and just be like, "This is Sia, everyone."
You're gonna be like, "Oh my God, you're that girl I was sitting next to at Chewy's. You were like reading a book and eating like fish."
You'll forever be the guy on Facebook. You'll forever be the guy who uncovered Sia, and you'll get endlessly Facebook shamed from now until the rest of your life.
I will. It's like, yeah.
Can you believe that jerk?
Oh boy. Oh goodness. All right. Well, guys, let's move on to some plugs as we wrap up here. Will, what have you got?
All right. So my plug is for a film that's playing on HBO. It's actually premiering tonight while we're podcasting, but it will be doing its repeat screenings. It's a movie called Suited. I'm part of the programming committee for the Austin Gay and Lesbian International Film Festival, and we get these films from time to time that we schedule throughout the year leading up to the festival. And HBO was great and said, hey, it's premiering on Monday, but you guys can screen it the weekend or the Wednesday before. So this is a documentary about this Brooklyn-based tailor company. They do custom fitted like tuxedos and suits and stuff like that, like really nice stuff, with a focus on transgender folks who often can't find suits in their size because it's just they're not made that way, or especially off the rack. So it follows the 6 different trans folk who are going in for their fittings, and then after each fitting, it follows them back home and it explores their life. Like one trans male is getting ready for his wedding and wants to look really nice in that tuxedo. This one trans woman is a lawyer who's doing this really big, the one step below the Supreme Court case, and she wants a really nice looking outfit for that, and she just can't find anything because she's got kind of large, broad shoulders. So really great story that looks at both an issue I never even thought of. I never even thought of how difficult it must be for a trans person to wear a suit. But also I love the fact that it then explored these other aspects of their life as well. It's called Suited, really great documentary, and it's on HBO. Look for it. Like I said, if you're watching live, I guess if you're listening to this on audio, you're probably not going to be able to watch it live because it's already happened. But it's going to have some repeat screening, so you should definitely put your DVR, record it, do whatever. It's definitely worth it.
All right. Awesome. Thank you, Will.
You're right, Will. It's one of those things that you just, other folk don't always think about is, how to get a suit,
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. For sure, for sure. All right, Jim, what have you got this week?
I talked about a trailer in movie news. I'm going to talk about another trailer that came out last week, and I've kind of plugged this in movie news before. The new the new Pete's Dragon movie that's coming out. New trailer dropped this week for that. I've watched it a few times. This movie looks really great. I don't know who the director is exactly, but it stars Robert Redford. Is it Bryce Howard? Is that her name?
Bryce Dallas Howard.
Bryce Dallas Howard. This is a live-action movie remake of. I don't want to say remake because it's really not a remake. It's more like a reimagining of the story. The original Pete's Dragon was a musical, had a lot of goofy little musical numbers in it, had some really cool moments in it. It was great Disney movie as a kid for kids from the 60s or 70s. This movie looks totally different. Just a modern day retelling. The movie comes out on August 12th, but there's a full length trailer out now. If you're the type that likes to watch trailers, go check out the Pete's Dragon trailer. It's also got Carl Urban in this one. So I'm very much looking forward to this movie. It's one of the ones I'm looking most forward to of all the movies coming out this year. So I'm excited.
Yeah, it looks good.
Yeah. Me too. Cannot wait. Well, for me this week, I just want to give a quick shout out to friend of the show, Doug Langway, director of the Bear City films. He has been on the show, as well as Garen McCulloch, he was on the show previously as well. They have the final chapter of the Bear City films making their premiere this Friday at the Castro Theater in San Francisco during San Francisco Pride. They're going to be premiering the film there. I wish we could be there. Oh my gosh, I'm so excited for Bear City 3. But guys, tickets appear to be still available. They're going to be screening it at 9:15 this Friday evening. So if you want to go and see Bear City 3 at the Frameline Film Festival, definitely go check it out. We have a scene in the movie, assuming it hasn't been cut, because our
that alone is
a
reason to go see this movie. Just to see how
terrible
how awesome.
Oh goodness! But yeah, the
feature film debut.
Oh, there's going to be lots of cool cameos, but I understand our scene may be towards the end of the film, so keep an eye out for the Movie Bros podcast. But yeah, definitely, Doug. We love you. We support you.
Definitely.
Wait to see the film when it's available somewhere in our area that we can access it. But can we just give them a round of applause for finishing the film?
Yes.
Premiering it. That's awesome. Super pumped. So way to go, guys. And yeah, I think that wraps us for this week, right? We good?
I think it does. Yeah.
Yeah. All right.
Wrap us in brown paper.
Like dead fish?
Like fish, yeah.
Which makes me think of The Sopranos, actually. Jim, do you know the scene I'm thinking of?
I know exactly the scene you're thinking of. I don't know, it's like in the second or third season, maybe?
Yep. All right, well, that wraps us for this week. Guys, thanks so much for hanging out with us. We had a bunch of you on live with us. It was great hanging out with you. Dane from Cardiff, again, thanks so much for writing in. Good to hear from you, too. Thanks for waking up early to listen. We'll figure out what we're doing next week and get back to you guys. We'll figure it out. But have a great week. Take it easy. And hey, if you want to go back and listen to some of our old episodes too, they are available on our website and iTunes, Stitcher Radio. Feel free to peruse our back catalog. This is episode 188, so you've got 187 other episodes you may not have listened to yet that you might enjoy. Take it easy, everyone. We'll see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.
Just keep swimming. Just keep swimming. Just